Have you ever said something like this? I just want my teen to talk to me again. Why do they shut me out the moment I walk into the room? I love them so much. So, why does it feel like they don't trust me at all? You're not alone. So many parents come to me feeling confused, hurt, even helpless, watching their once open child pull away, speak less, hide behind headphones and closed doors. The truth is, the teenage years don't have to mean the end of connection. But something subtle often happens during this time, something that quietly breaks trust between parent and child. And the sad part? Most parents don't even realize they're doing it. Trust isn't built overnight, but it can be broken in seconds, with one comment, one overreaction, one decision made for their own good that ends up making them feel betrayed. In this video, we'll go over 7 common parenting mistakes, small choices many of us make without thinking, that can deeply damage the trust your teen has in you. More importantly, we'll talk about what to do instead. Because the good news is, it's never too late to rebuild. Let's begin with the first mistake, the one so many parents fall into without meaning to. 1. Spying on their phone without consent. Imagine this, you notice your teen is acting distant. They're spending hours on their phone, laughing at messages you can't see, snapping back when you ask simple questions. Worry sets in. Are they being bullied? Are they talking to someone dangerous? So one day, while they're at school, you pick up their phone, just to check, just to make sure they're safe. You unlock it, maybe you know the password, maybe you guess it, and start scrolling. Messages, photos, social media DMs. You tell yourself it's for their protection. But here's what happens when they find out. Their sense of privacy vanishes. They think, if my own parent can't respect my space, who can I trust? Now let's be clear, your intention is not to hurt them, you're trying to protect them. But the impact? It tells your teen, I don't trust you enough to handle things on your own. And worse, you can't even keep your private life safe around me. This doesn't mean you should ignore red flags. If you're seriously worried about their safety, there are better ways to respond, like saying, hey, I've noticed you've been really stressed lately. Can we talk about what's going on? That opens the door. Spying slams it shut. Instead of checking their phone behind their back, try this. Build trust by asking permission. Say, I care about you and sometimes I worry. If it's okay with you, can we look at your messages together if something feels off? That way, you're guiding, not invading. Because trust goes both ways. And when teens feel respected, they're far more likely to come to you when they need help. 2. Breaking promises or being inconsistent. Let's say your teen worked hard all week, good grades, helped around the house, stayed out of trouble. You promised them a later curfew on Saturday as a reward. They were excited, counting down the hours. Then Saturday morning comes, and you change your mind. Actually, you say, I'm not comfortable with that. Curfew stays at 10. They're crushed. And honestly, they have every right to be. Here's the thing. Every promise you make, big or small, builds either trust or doubt. When you follow through, your teen learns, my parent means what they say. But when you break promises, even with good reasons, they learn, their word can't be counted on. And it's not just about rewards. It's also about consequences. One day, you give a warning for a bad grade. The next time, same thing happens, and suddenly it's phone's gone for 2 weeks. That inconsistency makes rules feel unpredictable and unfair. Teens crave stability, especially in a world that already feels chaotic. So here's what works better. Be clear from the start. If you say, if you finish your project by Friday, we'll go out for ice cream, then follow through. If something changes and you need to adjust the plan, talk to them like a person. I know I promised a later curfew, but something came up. Can we find another way to celebrate your effort? That kind of honesty builds respect. It shows you value their expectations too. When your actions match your words over and over, your teen starts to believe, I can count on my parent. And that belief, that's the fourth 3. Dismissing their feelings as dramatic. Your teen comes home crying because their best friend didn't sit with them at lunch. You say, oh, come on, it's just lunch. Don't be so dramatic, or they tell you they're overwhelmed with school. You reply, when I was your age, I had twice the homework and didn't complain. We say these things because we want to minimize their pain. We think we're helping them toughen up. But what they actually hear is, my feelings don't matter. Or worse, I'm too sensitive. I shouldn't bother sharing, think about it. When you're upset and someone says it's not a big deal, does that make you feel better? Or does it make you want to walk away? Teens feel things deeply. Friendships, grades, appearance, identity, these aren't small things to them. They're everything. So instead of brushing it off, try this. Pause and say, that sounds really hard. Want to talk about it? You don't have to fix it. You don't have to agree it's a crisis. You just have to acknowledge their experience. Validation doesn't mean coddling. It means saying, I see you, I hear you. Your emotions are real, even if I don't fully understand them. One mom told me her daughter hadn't spoken to her for weeks, until one night she simply said, I bet you felt really lonely today. Her daughter burst into tears, and then started talking for the first time in months. Sometimes that's all it takes. 4. Talking at them instead of listening. Picture this. Your teen says, I hate school. Everyone's fake, and you immediately jump in. You can't quit. Education is important. You need to toughen up and deal with it. The conversation ends. They shut down. Headphones go on. Door closes. Why? Because they weren't looking for a lecture. They were looking for someone to listen. Here's a hard truth. Most of us don't truly listen. We respond. We hear the first few words and rush to advice, correction, or discipline. But teens don't open up unless they feel safe. And safety means no judgment, no instant solutions, no turning their story into a parenting lesson. Try this instead. Use the 80-20 rule. Let them talk 80% of the time. You speak 20%. Ask gentle questions. What was the hardest part about today? How did that make you feel? What do you wish had happened instead? Don't interrupt. Don't correct. Just stay present. One dad shared how he started sitting with his son every evening. No devices, just 5 minutes of quiet time. No agenda. After 2 weeks, his son started telling him about a bully at school, something he'd hidden for months. Listening isn't passive. It's the most powerful way to say, you matter. Your voice matters. And when your teen feels heard, they'll start trusting you with the things that really scare them. 5. Sharing their secrets. With relatives, let's say your teen finally opens up. Maybe they tell you they're struggling with anxiety, or that they like someone of the same gender, or that they made a mistake like skipping class or trying something they know they shouldn't have. You listen, they seem relieved, and then later that day, you mention it to your sister or your mom, just so she knows what teens are going through these days. You say, but word gets back to your teen. What happens? Instantly, they feel betrayed. Not just disappointed, wounded. Because when someone shares something personal, especially for the first time, they're taking a huge risk. They're saying, I trust you with this. And when that trust is broken, even with good intentions, it teaches them, don't tell your parents anything real. Now, this doesn't mean you can never talk to others for support. Parenting is hard, and you deserve guidance. But there's a simple rule. If it came from your teen, ask before sharing it with anyone else. Instead of saying, my daughter told me she's depressed, try saying this to a trusted friend or counselor. My teen is going through a tough time, and I'm not sure how to help. Can I get your advice? Keep their identity and details private. Better yet, ask your teen directly. I want to support you the best I can. Is it okay if I talk to grandma or my sister about this? Or would you rather we keep it between us? That small act of asking gives them control. It shows respect. And over time, it builds a safe space where they'll feel more comfortable opening up again. Because trust isn't just about keeping secrets. It's about honoring someone's right to choose who knows their story. 6. Overreacting to small mistakes. Imagine this. Your teen forgets to do the dishes. Again, you snap. You never listen. You're so lazy. How will you ever survive on your own? Or they come home 5 minutes past curfew and you say, that's it. No phone for 2 weeks. You clearly don't care about our rules. Sound familiar? When we react with anger or extreme consequences over small issues, we may think we're teaching responsibility. But what teens often hear is, I'm never good enough, or one mistake ruins everything. And so they start hiding things, because the cost of honesty feels too high. Think of trust like a bank account. Every calm, fair response deposits goodwill. Every overreaction makes a withdrawal. So instead of reacting in the moment, try pausing. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this a behavior issue or a relationship issue? Forgetting chores? That's behavior. Late by 5 minutes? Likely an accident. These are teaching moments, not emergencies. Try saying, I noticed you missed the dishes. Everything okay? Let's figure out a better system together. Or, you were late tonight. I was worried. Next time, can you text me? This approach keeps the door open. It says, mistakes happen. I'd rather you be honest than hide. And when your teen knows you won't explode every time something small goes wrong, they'll be more likely to come to you when something big goes wrong, because they'll believe, deep down, that you'll respond with love, not fear. 7. Comparing them to siblings or peers. Have you ever said something like, why can't you be more like your brother? Your cousin got straight A's. Why is this so hard for you? Back in my day, I never gave my parents this much trouble. We say these things when we're frustrated, hoping to motivate, but what they actually do is chip away at your teen's sense of worth. Comparison tells them, you're not enough as you are. And worse, it creates resentment. Not just toward you, but toward siblings or friends. It turns relationships into competitions. Every teen is different. One may thrive in school, another in art or sports or kindness. One may need more time to grow emotionally, and that's okay. Instead of comparing, try celebrating who they are. Say, I see how hard you're trying. I love how creative you think. You have a way of making people feel welcome. Affirmation builds confidence. Confidence builds connection, and connection is where trust grows. One mom shared how she stopped comparing her quiet son to his outgoing older sister. Instead, she started writing him little notes. Proud of you for speaking up in class today. After a few weeks, he left a note on her pillow. Thanks for seeing me, Mom. Sometimes that's all a teen wants, to be seen for who they really are. In conclusion, let's recap those 7 mistakes, not to make you feel guilty, but to help you grow. 1. Spying on their phone without permission. 2. Breaking promises or being inconsistent. 3. Dismissing their feelings as dramatic. 4. Talking at them instead of listening. 5. Sharing their secrets with others. 6. Overreacting to small mistakes. 7. Comparing them to siblings or peers. None of these mean you're a bad parent. In fact, the very reason you're watching this is because you care, and that's half the battle. Rebuilding trust starts with one honest conversation, one apology, one moment where you choose patience over reaction, listening over lecturing, respect over control. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up with love, humility, and a willingness to do better. So tonight, try this. Sit down with your teen. Not to fix anything, just to say, I've been learning. I might not always get it right, but I want you to know I'm trying, and I'm here for whatever you need to say. Because trust isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in quiet moments, in small choices, in the everyday decision to see your teen and honor them as the person they are becoming. Thank you for watching. If this resonated, do well to click like the video. Share it with another parent who needs it. Subscribe to this channel for more insightful videos, and remember, it's never too late to rebuild. Bye.